So, when I first heard of family constellation, I just thought it must be another modality. And I have done so many different modalities that I wondered what new could constellation work offer me. Fortunately for me, about 5 years back, I had my first experience with constellation work and I was totally blown. It was a completely mysterious, magical experience, something which was completely inexplicable to me. I felt almost as if I had reached back into the historical past of my family and worked with some stuck energy there. And once I released that stuck energy, I felt as if whatever that issue that I was working with had got resolved. So, what is this magical work that people talk about? How does it work? So, systemic work, as it is also called, works with the system. So, a child belongs to the system of his family. So, there's the child, there is his sibling, and parents. That's one system. Now, this unit belongs to a larger system, to a larger family system, which includes the grandparents and the extended family. This family belongs to a community, which is a still larger system. That community belongs to a race, which is a still larger system. It belongs to an ethnic group, to a country, to a nation, and so on and so forth. So, constellation work works with the system. In therapy work, we work directly with the client, we work with an individual. And when the client is healed, obviously he naturally affects his system, the system in which he lives. But in systemic work, in constellation work, we work directly with the system. So the question we ask in constellation is, how is my client's problem a solution for the system? When a client is not able to solve an issue, in spite of trying everything, then the issue does not belong to him. Then who does it belong to, you may ask? It belongs to someone in his system, to an ancestor from an earlier time with who the client is entangled. The person is entangled when he or she takes over the fate of an earlier member of a family, even from an earlier generation. So, for example, if a child has been given away, even in an earlier generation, it is possible that somebody in a later generation will start having feelings of abandonment or rejection. And this would be a taking over or an entanglement with that earlier person who had been given away. The resolution would be to bring a representative for the person who was given away in the constellation, and now this earlier generation person can take his rightful place in the constellation, in the family system, and the later member who was entangled can be relieved from the fate of this earlier generation member, and he can now live his own life. So, what is the process of a constellation? When we want to set up a client's constellation, we ask him to choose representatives from among the other participants in the workshop. So, for example, a client may choose a representative for his father, for his mother, for his sibling, and somebody to represent himself. Now, the client sets these representatives up in what is called a field. Wherever the representatives are set up in the workshop space, that area now becomes the knowing field or the informing field. The way the client sets up these representatives gives us the first inner picture that the client is carrying of his family. The most magical thing about this work is once these representatives are set up, they take on exactly the emotions, the behaviors, the thoughts, and the feelings of the people they are representing without even knowing anything about them. The facilitator then takes the constellation forward step by step till he reaches a final harmonized picture. Only when the constellation is harmonized, the client steps in and takes his own place. Now, this final harmonized picture is what the client carries. And this is a new image which he now carries in his subconscious mind. For those of you who are interested in learning this fascinating work, this transgenerational healing work, We are having our next batch in Mumbai. New batch of Family Constellation Facilitators Training is starting in Mumbai on November 24th. This is being brought to you by Divita Institute, but the trainers are Mogan and Yuval. Yuval has been trained under Bert Hellinger, and these two trainers have been practicing this work from the past 20 years. In this training, which is a 6th level training, we will be teaching you not only to do the constellations in a group, but also to work one on one using puppets, using paper, and using structures.